watching this duel, it's gonna be a catastrophe. I can already tell you that. It is, where is it? It's gotta be over here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Dolores and Shizanzan. And they're playing my other format, not split format. They're playing Season 0 format, which is about very low power cards, very old school feeling, retro Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay. As you can see, a lot of level 4 beaters are involved. Very simple back row, no big power moves like Mirror Force or Torrential, none of that's legal. There's a lot of recruiters. True recruiters are actually limited because recruiters are just so good, and there's a lot of good Earth and Dark targets for Giant Rat and Mystic Tomato, so those are both at 1, but the rest are at 3. So we see he attacks 2 Shining Angels, and then Shizanzan brings out Roulette Barrel, very good card. Walls with 2,000 defense. Jeez. And once per turn, has a chance to kill a monster for free, which is really, really good in this format. This is a very solid card. He just has to roll a 4. Not super unlikely. He only rolled 1. Not gonna. That's right. I'm pretty sure it does not target because you don't even know what level you're hitting until resolution. All right, so no, level 4. Ooh, okay. So now I can go for a Genex ally, Triarm, Triforce, one of those two. Yeah, Triforce. This is a solid card. 2,500's pretty solid, pretty big. And it can just revive the light material you used from the graveyard for free. Oh, any light, once per turn, yeah. So, could be the material, could be something else. He's getting recruiters back so he can just keep his board presence. Dolores is going to take 700. This card's okay. Like, it dodges removal because it can bounce itself, but that doesn't come up super often. There's not a lot of, like, actual removal. Most of it's, like, combat tricks like Shield Spear or Kunai with Chain. So, you can't use it in the damage step either. So it doesn't do anything if they're smart and they use Shield Spear or Kunai in the damage step. This can't even protect itself. So it's okay, but it's not that great because there's a lot of stuff that just gets around it, and it's only 1,800. Like, worst case scenario, they can crash it with their own 1,800 thing, and then you can't bounce it. He pops the Shard of Greed, so Shy does not get 2 draws. Ooh, okay. Now, yeah, his field's just like snowballing. He got back free Tribute Fodder with Triforce, really good, and then this goes up to 2,800 whenever it attacks, as long as it's not attacking directly. So this beats over almost everything in the format that's relevant. There's only a few cards that are going to be higher than 2,800. I don't see Dolores coming back from this. I don't know what it is. It looks like he's just playing a lot of, like, generic level 4 things with big stats, which, like, that's not going to get you that far against decks with an actual strategy to get out boss monsters like these. Shy is probably... Oh, not getting another Roulette Barrel. Because, yeah, Roulette Barrel can be risky if you're the only one who controls a certain level, because then if you roll that level, you have to choose it. Because it's not optional. After you've already decided to roll, you will have to choose a monster. But I guess, like, as long as you don't roll 2 6s, it's fine. Because if you're like a 5 and a 6, you could pick the 5, and then there's no target, so you're fine. But if you do get unlucky and roll 2 6s, you have to kill your level 6. Yeah, this card's not that great. Puts itself in defense mode, making it really easy to attack over. Even with, like, a crappy recruiter like Shining Angel, it's not hard to attack over it. Shy took that game very handedly, and I'm sure he's going to take this next one too. Dolores just built his deck, so it hasn't been fine-tuned or anything, and it doesn't seem like it has a cohesive strategy at all. Shy's been working on this Genex deck for a little while now, so he knows what he's doing. See Secro Overtake to get Genex Controller straight out of the deck. This card's really good because not only does it give you a tuner, so you can make a synchro in one turn, like Shai's doing right now, it also doesn't prevent you from tribute summoning. So you can just use the controller as tribute fodder for level 5 or level 6, which is really useful when you need it. If like summoning your Gyruda will let you beat over their biggest thing and take back the board, that is not a bad play at all. And you get Shard of Greed. This card's so good. I wonder if Dolores even remembered to put it in. This is like a staple 3 of in this format. Because while it's slow, the format is also so slow that pretty much every time you activate Shard, you're going to be able to resolve it. Like, very rarely do you draw Shard when you're about to lose anyway, and you're going to die in 2 turns. Or if you win in 2 turns, then it doesn't even matter. Like, very rarely does this not go off. Unless they use Dust Tornado to pop it, but then they're not popping your battle traps, so that's fine. And you go +0. I think that's 800. Yeah. I wonder what his face down is. Oh, okay. You definitely... Oh, okay, he's gonna attack that. I guess... No, I wouldn't even do that, because that's gonna let him thin a card out of his deck and just load his graveyard with more stuff to revive with the next Triforce he makes. Because you know he's gonna make another one. He plays 3 Synchro Overtake, so he's definitely able to pick more of these. And then he's going to tribute the Exiled Forest, pop this. I don't know, I wouldn't have done that. Because that's one less Shining Angel for him to draw. So, like, you're making his deck... You're thinning his deck out for him. You don't have a way to, like, push for pressure right now, so I wouldn't do that. I would have just left the Angel there. And hope he drew the other one. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Swords of Revealing. It's just always... It's a -1, you know, unless they have to Dust Tornado it to push for pressure and keep the board state up or whatever, but like, usually they can just pass for 3 turns, and then you went -1 for no reason. It can work in some decks that are like burn decks where they burn over time, and this can give you 3 more turns of burn damage, but that's about it. I wouldn't really play it in a beatdown deck like this. Because if you have to stall in an aggressive beatdown deck, that probably means you're already losing. Dekoichi's really good tribute fodder. So Shai's deck is like, it's kind of like, it's a tribute deck that also can make synchros. But tributes are the main focus. I think he plays like 4 tribute summons, and just like all his little monsters are based around getting value out of those tribute summons. Because normally you go -1 to tribute summon something, but you have stuff like Dekoichi that draws you a card to recoup the lost advantage. Or you have stuff like Synchro Overtake to be able to play a tribute in 1 turn instead of having to make sure a monster survives. You can play the tribute in 1 turn, and hopefully that tempo will be enough to offset the -1 that you take. And then, of course, Shard of Greed helps you get rid of the -1, but your opponent's probably also paying Shard of Greed, so I don't really count that. And the recruiters are another way to make sure he has synchro fodder or tribute fodder when he needs it. I don't know why he put Dekoichi in defense mode. I guess, like, if, based on what we've seen so far, if something in Dolorese's deck can hit for 14, or can hit for 1,000, or over 1,000, it can also hit for over 1,400, because he hasn't really played any, like, 1,200 or 1,300 attack cards yet, so I guess that makes sense. Here we see him about to go for another Synchro play. Synchros are also really good, like, they just... So recently, Raigeki Break and Phoenix Wing Wind Blast got banned in this format, and they were both legal at 3 copies, and we made some pretty significant changes, because we didn't like how prominent spot removal was in every deck, with, like, such weak monsters in comparison to quick play, pop a card. Offerings to the Doom is the only one left, coincidentally. That's the only quick play monster removal, just kill a monster, period, that's still legal. So normally, like, these synchros with ignition effects were kind of hard to pull off, because it would just get popped before you could use this effect, because they would use Raigeki Break in response to the summon. But now that Raigeki Break and Wind Blast are gone, and it's only 3 copies of Offerings to the Doomed you have to worry about, these are a lot more reliable. Like, you can you're more likely to get this effect off at least once, and then you've recovered your lost advantage. And on the bright side, even if they do offerings it, they lose a draw phase, so they're losing 2 cards, basically, the offerings and the card they would have drawn, to your 2 cards, the 2 synchro materials. So you really just went +0. And as long as your board state is still substantial, then going +0 won't hurt you, of course. It'll just keep you the same as you were before. I didn't see how he summoned this. How did he summon that? Oh, I can't see the log. Okay. It looks like he tributed Sangan and Dakoichi. Oh, and he got a search off of that. So he won't be taking the 1,000 damage because it looks like he did tribute 2 monsters for this. This is a really strong card. It's huge. 2,900 is really big, and it does piercing, so they can't like try to stall with Gel and Duo or something because it'll just punch for piercing damage every turn. And yeah, Shy did not lose the 1,000 life points. So if you can bust it out with 1 tribute. If you just really need it on board fast, you just take a lot of damage at the end of every turn. But there's no downside to just using 2 tributes if you can, other than the fact that you're using 2 tributes if you count that as a downside. So yeah, this is a really good card. And there's a lot of fire support and pyro support in the format that decks can make use of if they want to like focus on this. Because it is at 3 copies. Most of the cards in this format are at 3 copies. Only a few that see play in every deck are limited. Like Kunai is at 1, Sangan's at 3, Witch is at 1, Swords is at 1, Exiled is at 1, but Swords doesn't go in every deck. Even Exiled doesn't go in every deck. Witch can go in almost every deck. Like almost every deck has like good search targets for it. You just got to make sure you don't lose too much tempo by just setting a monster and passing and letting it get run over. Yeah, Shy also plays Witch. So Witch goes into most decks, and that's at 1 copy. Atakwa is one of the best battle traps we have here. It's at 3 copies, and I think every deck should play 3 copies. And if they don't have space for it, they should make space for it, because it's so versatile. Because you can use it aggressively, too, since it doesn't have to be in response to an attack. If your opponent has an attack mode monster, you can flip it into defense mode on your turn and attack over it, and that just gives it an extra level of utility. Oh, this is a good card. This is at 1 copy, and it only goes in Dragon decks because you have to tribute a Dragon monster to get its effect, and it just pops 2 back row. There are some chainable back row in this format, like Windstorm and Offerings, but I want to say most back row is not super chainable. Like Shard's obviously not chainable, it's a spell. And then Changing Destiny is not chainable. And if they set bluffs, you can punish them for setting bluffs. It's basically Mobius the Frost Monarch, but worse because it can only target sets. I think Mobius can target any spell trap, and you do have to tribute a dragon for it. But on the bright side, it has way more defense than Mobius. It's just really solid. 2,400 attack is pretty big, and popping 2 back row is really good. Unfortunately, he didn't have any back row to protect it from the Shiryu. If he had another Atakwa, he could have put this in defense mode and then attacked over it. But that is not the case. Yeah, this is a strong tribute, but like Shy's tributes are just stronger. And attack points are really important in this format because of how little spot removal there is. Most of the back row is battle-based, like Kunai and Atakwa. Shy had a handful of recruiters. Oh, and this is another limited card that goes in pretty much every deck. It's very useful. Yeah. Oh my goodness, he had 3 Dragonic Knight, which does nothing against Shy's deck, because Shy doesn't use any monster effects to destroy his opponent's cards. There's not many of those. There's Exiled Force and Tiger Dragon, which Dolores does play, but Shy doesn't play those. There's not a lot of stuff that triggers this. It's more of a side deck card. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into Season 0 format, and I'll try to upload more videos for it soon.